Do you like wrestling? Do you ever watch wrestling?
No. Nope.
And The Rock said, whoa, 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 whoa. Because I'm still standing here, custom made, brother. Woo! And I mean custom made. From the alligators to the Ole Cassini right here. Ric Flair. There's only one.
We're not the kind of guys that say, we told you so, but we told you so.
Yeah, no thank you from the Young Bucks.
Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman.
You know who I am.
What's up, gang? Welcome to Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman, the podcast that breaks down the biggest stories in and out of the ring. How's it going, gang? My name is Mike Wellman. I am your host. Thank you for hitting that play button. We appreciate you here, as always. This is episode 64 of Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. Can you believe it? On this episode, we are going to be reviewing WWE SummerSlam. Jimmy Uso turned on Jey Uso and cost his twin brother the WWE Undisputed Championship. IYO Sky cashed in Money in the Bank and became the new WWE Undisputed Women's Champion. Cody Rhodes defeated Brock Lesnar, and then Brock Lesnar really put him over by raising his hand. We're going to get to all of that. Also, CM Punk has apparently created a new X division in AEW, the NWX division. The Straight Edge Society has a champion in CM Punk, and we are going to talk about that, along with his title reign so far as the quote-unquote real world champion. And of course, Heels is back. That's right. Our favorite TV show, Heels, is back on Stars for Season 2. There has been 2 episodes so far, and we are excited to kind of review them. We're going to save it all for a large review, but we're definitely going to carve out some time at the end of the show to go over the first 2 episodes of Heels and what's been going on with the Spade brothers. So, all that, plus on the Patreon post-show, we are going to the dark side of the ring. That's right. No, this isn't the Garbage Talk podcast with Alec Price. We're going to the dark side of the ring, and we will be discussing the documentary Becoming Cody Rhodes on Peacock, as well as the Bash at the Beach episode of Dark Side of the Ring. So check out our Patreon for the post-show. And of course, joining me, as always, the man who has to finish the documentaries I sent him. He is wrestling fan Kris, a.k.a. the Notorious KRS. What's up, Kris?
What's up, Mike? I am here and ready to talk about the story of the wrestling world. The story of brothers divided and a whole family divided. Of course, I mean the Spade brothers and the DWL on Season 2 of Heels.
We're going to have to see if the Spade brothers will have to finish the story with tribal combat at the end of the season. And then maybe another Spade brother can come in and interfere in the tribal combat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wild Bill is just holding the DWL championship on the outside.
He's the wise man.
Yeah.
Nice. But yes, we're going to talk about Heels, of course. We're super excited that the show's back. It's our favorite show, unfortunately, guys. Hate to say it, but it's true. And of course, we did review Heels Season 1 in what critics have said is the only wrestling podcast you need to listen to know about Heels Season 1. Go back and check it out in the podcast archives, pal. We did a 2-part deep dive review of Heels Season 1. Some of our finest work. Go check it out. Get caught up, get smartened up on Heels Season 1. And like Kris said, the Spade brothers of Duffy, Georgia. But yeah, so we got a lot to get to on this episode. There is never not a lot going on in the world of wrestling. But first, that's right. We need you to be kind, like, and subscribe. Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. You already know where you can find this podcast because you already found the podcast. Whether it was The Moneymaker on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the Buried Alive match of the platform Stitcher, Google. Check out our Patreon. We have 3 tiers. Choose a tier that fits. We have the gang affiliated tier for those who want to get jumped in to the Watch Wrestling gang. And yes, we are now on Instagram. So check out our Instagram, Watch Wrestling Podcast on Instagram. We are on the motherfucking scene, guys, on Instagram. So check out the reels when we see things like the main event jumping through hula hoops in East Hampton. And yes, that's what we're going to be putting on Instagram. We also are on the platform formerly known as Twitter, at W Wrestling Pod. Check out the Facebook. We see you Facebook followers. Be kind, like, and subscribe. Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman, and we look forward to not having any problems whatsoever in the future. Am I right, KRS?
You are right. Correct.
You guys need to subscribe so you know when the latest episode comes out. That's all. I'm just trying to help you here. Why won't you take my help? I'm helping you.
Please.
I'm helping you out here. Subscribe. Check out what the game's been missing. Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman.
I mean, how will you know what Weester is if you don't subscribe?
We go to Weester, so you don't have to. No, we haven't been there in a while, actually. But I've been on that Twitter account again.
There, yeah, well, hey.
Yeah, so let's finish the story by starting the podcast. All right, last Saturday, the WWE had a pretty big show, Paul White, in Detroit. They had 50,000 plus at Ford Field in Detroit for SummerSlam. Overall, I thought this was a very good show. It did drag on a little bit just because of the nature of how all of the matches were very good matches, but there was only a few kind of big moments on the show. So it did tend to drag on a little bit, especially with all of these matches getting the time that they got. Mm-hmm. There wasn't really a bad match on the show. Well, actually, there was, but there was one only, really. And, there's still good parts about it, I guess. But overall, good show from top to bottom. What did you think coming out of SummerSlam, Kris?
I thought it was a good show too. I enjoyed most of it. Actually, I enjoyed all of it, but I mean, Logan Paul, Ricochet, loved it. I love that IYO Sky cashed in. I always enjoy Cody and Brock, even though I know those Cody is great and Brock is great, but Brock has the same kind of matches all the time, but it's okay. I enjoy Brock. I kind of was really... The only part that dragged for me was the main event. I mean, that thing dragged and dragged and dragged forever. Like, I couldn't believe that I was still watching this thing, and that's the first time in a long time with a Roman Reigns bloodline type match or anything that I was like, is this over yet? So that was my only gripe.
Yeah, that was a very long main event. It was like an hour, basically, with the entrances, which they sure do give Roman time for his entrance. I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but yeah. Just every time with the 6-minute entrances, it's like, whew, So, but yeah, overall, I like the show. Like I said, let's kind of take it match by match here. Let's start with Logan Paul defeating Ricochet. So, brass knuckles. Good opening match. Lots of high flying, lots of geometry angles, 630s. 450s. No, was there a 450? Springboard frog splashes, standing moonsaults. There was double Spanish fly. So this was a great match, right? And then on top of it, I'm watching this match, and it's like, this is like Logan Paul's like 5th or 6th match, right?
Yeah.
It's disgusting how good he is.
I hate it. So. I mean, I like watching it. He's very good, but I hate it.
You know what he does? He's up. I'm watching him like up on the top rope and all of these positions that like are very dangerous generally. And take practice and all this stuff. And it's like, he sort of has this like uninitiated, like lack of fear. Maybe not fear, but like there's just no trepidation. He's very athletic, so obviously he can pull it off.
Yeah.
Like coming off the top and doing all the springboard stuff. But just again, it's just like the uninitiated approach of just go right to the top rope. Let's just skip the other two.
Whatever. I mean, the buckshot lariat to the outside, like that's insane. Like I would never, my knees are sad right now just looking at that, and he just does it.
Yeah, so it's like the willingness to attempt these moves, and then the fact that he's basically hitting them almost flawlessly.
Yeah,
as well.
He really, and I mean, at least when goes out there now, he's kind of like being an asshole, because that's what we want to boo him because we respect him as a wrestler, but we kind of all, maybe not all of us, but at least here on the pod, we're kind of like, all right, Logan Paul, you're kind of a D-bag, but so he's playing that up, and I appreciate that about him. And then he goes in the ring and delivers, and I have to just always say, good job, Logan. And it makes me sad.
Yeah, it's like this, especially because of the fact that he's had these only 5 or 6 matches, again, like under 10, right? Under 20, under 30 matches, and he's this good. It's kind of scary, the potential that he has. I mean, this is like, you know, there's been few, I think I said this before, there's like few other rookies ever as good as Logan Paul.
Yeah, and like I said, a lot of times when you're a rookie, you start off, let's just say he had 100 matches or whatever before this. It doesn't matter. But he also has this charisma about him. He knows how to play the crowd, which is, I feel like, is the hardest part sometimes. And he just really goes out there and just knows how to perform, too. Not only wrestling moves, but like as a quote-unquote character. Everything he does is very good. It's just, oh, man. Tip of cap. I tip the cap to him.
Yep. So, good match there. I'm glad. I was just watching Ricochet in a pay-per-view singles match, and I was like, this is good. I'm fine with this.
Yeah, I mean, how about, like, 3 years ago, if Ricochet lost in the opening match at SummerSlam, it's like a burial, right? Because I don't know if it's because we know about how Vince feels about him or whatever, but in this loss, it's kind of like, oh, Ricochet's actually a big-time guy now. Like, yeah, he loses, but whatever. Like, it was a good match. It felt big time, and he felt big time. And then the whole Samantha Irvin thing, too, that they kind of like intertwined was great. I was just
going to mention that. She had to announce, poor Ricochet's fiance had to announce Logan Paul beating her fiance. And then he wanted her to do it again, and she wouldn't.
Which is very good, too. I mean, that's good. I like it. If you're going to have a quote-unquote celebrity come in and defeat an established wrestler, at least one, he's very impressive. And 2, it makes the actual wrestler still come out looking pretty good. And that was both. So that's good.
Then we got Cody and Brock. So you said this match was kind of so-so. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was definitely a beatdown by Brock, which is a lot of his matches, like you said. But one thing I thought was interesting is midway through this match, regardless of who's going to win at the end, at a certain point, Cody has taken like 10 lifetimes worth of beatings in one match.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the amount of suplexes, it was just so much punishment that, and the whole story is like, you know, you take unending punishment and you somehow find a way to come back, right? Like Sami Zayn's another one of those guys where it's like, you just kick him in the head 50 times and he somehow is a walking zombie and can still, you know, kick you back. So there was that element, but it was just so over the top that it's like, no human could survive this. like this is beyond, like, no one would have breath in their lungs, no one would have energy in their body to stand if they went through this many. And I'm not even talking about like an arm snapping Kimura. Obviously, that would end anybody's day. I just mean just like the suplexes, an F5 on the floor by Brock. You know? And, you know, it's like, yeah, it's going to take a lot to beat Brock. And it took Cody 3 crossroads, tons of disaster kicks. And, yes, Cody did beat Brock, which I thought was good. And then the bigger thing for me was after the match. So Brock looked insane in this match. He looked insanely ripped. I don't know what has changed about Brock, but he looked like he was ready to go. And like, not like leave, like he looked like he was ready to go into the UFC cage, basically. And, you know, now we have Cody who beats him, and then Brock raises Cody's hand. First, he just stares at him with that Brock Lesnar gaze of like, am I going to attack you?
Yes, that's what I thought.
And then and the whole time I thought Brock was going to attack him. But so he raises Cody's hand for the 4 sides of the arena, and they hugged as well, shook hands and hugged. And I don't think I've ever seen Brock Lesnar do that ever. Yeah.
I think it goes, and also goes to what you said about him looking so ripped, ready to go. I think he really likes Cody, and he's really happy to work with him. And it usually comes through when he's happy to do stuff for the wrestlers he's with. And I think this is just an example of that. I mean, Brock's a smart guy. He always has been a smart guy in wrestling. And I don't think he necessarily is one of those guys who cares if he wins or loses. He just wants to like make money, but also he wants to be like make good stuff. And I think he knew this was the best thing to do, and he must really like Cody, because I don't know if it's true. Maybe I shouldn't say with the sources. I don't remember who I read it or, but I heard that this was not planned, and Brock just did it on his own. If that's true, that's insane.
Yeah, I mean, well, a lot of stuff is not planned by Brock Lesnar, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, yeah, it is crazy. Like, for one, who would ever guess that he would do that, even when he's doing it, you know? Like,
Yeah.
You're like, you would just be like, what are you freaking doing, you know?
Like Cody's like thinking, is he gonna close on me right now? What's going on? Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. But yeah, I just thought it was great because it meant so much, the fact that Brock just does his business and leaves. And then for him to take the time to do this really once ever. I mean, there may be a time where he's done it. I sincerely doubt it, though. But just this is so uncharacteristic of Brock Lesnar, on screen, Brock Lesnar off screen, the real life Brock Lesnar, the sort of sensationalized version that we used to see in the UFC octagon. It was just so anti-Brock, so it was just so telling. And one thing I thought of in that moment when Brock is raising Cody's hand is I thought of when Brock beat the streak. Like, the general consensus is that Brock beat the streak because people at the time thought he was like one of the few people who would have been kind of worthy, deserving, and credible, right? He was just, he's the most credible fighter in the UFC or in WWE. Yeah. Which are pretty soon just going to be one company. But he's the most credible guy. Like, he's the scariest guy there, right? Like, no Stan Hansen or JBL dude is going to bully Brock Lesnar.
That's right. I mean?
He's going to, like, he's the guy. So for Cody to beat him, and then he's raising Cody's hand, it's like, it just says so much because he beats the Undertaker's streak, and then the theory is that eventually somebody's gonna beat Brock. And that's kind of what I thought of here was like all that cachet that you get by beating the streak. It's kind of meant to then like pass it on to somebody else at the same time, the guy who beats Brock. And it kind of felt like this was that. I mean, it wasn't WrestleMania, right? But it was a huge event, SummerSlam. These events with WWE are getting to all be pretty big. I mean, they got Money in the Bank, big event. Yep. Elimination Chamber was big, Royal Rumble. Now they're trying to make all of the big events stadium shows. So they're all almost like WrestleMania in a way. So they are big enough stages for these kind of, stories to happen where somebody is passing a torch of some kind. So that's kind of what I thought of it was sort of like a version of that where Brock is kind of bowing out in a way. And he's just got one, he's only going to do it once, like he's not going to raise, he's not Terry Funk. He's not going to come out here and raise 10 guys' hands and he's not going to make a bunch of people look good, Yeah. But he did, I'm not saying he even made Cody look that good. It's just that it was just so uncharacteristic that I thought it was really profound just to see Brock Lesnar not try to kill a man for once.
I agree with you. I think it does show the respect and the admiration that Brock has for Cody, and I agree he's not going to do it again ever, and it really means a lot when he does it. I just feel like we didn't really need it because, I mean, if this was before WrestleMania and Cody's about to take on Roman and then he's going to win, I like it, but it's like, so what's going to happen now? It's great, it's a huge moment, and hopefully this will erase the WrestleMania thing, and hopefully Cody eventually beats Roman for the title at WrestleMania, whatever, but I just wish, I feel like it's like out of order, but it is a huge moment. I also see what I thought of though was when The Rock was raising Roman Reigns' hand. Remember that? But the complete opposite. Like this actually worked.
And we got that moment of honesty from Dwayne's eyes. When the most popular and famous wrestler of all time is raising your hand and the crowd is still booing, he just goes. Whew.
Like and now I'm thinking even more too. It's kind of like Cody, and it's like the complete opposite. Cody's the complete opposite. Like for all what Cody does, he's really like an old school, like white meat babyface who takes beatings but always comes out on top. And no one's turned on him yet. We all still love him, and this actually works, and we care. Whereas at the time, Roman, everyone hated him. It didn't matter what he did. So maybe I am talking myself into Cody beating Roman. Maybe it's good.
Well, I think it's possible. I just don't think that any idea that exists now can still happen 10 months from now or 8 months from now.
Good point.
So there's that. They're just going to sour on the idea as it develops. But I do kind of think that Cody is like the good guy of this generation. And not saying by in-ring talent, but he's selling all this merch. He did do the thing, right? He did do the thing where he goes from one company to the other and he only got bigger.
Yeah.
And, it's like he didn't, like there's guys in AEW that are really great in AEW, and we know they wouldn't do that well in WWE. They wouldn't be used properly. They wouldn't get a chance to do what they do well. Maybe they wouldn't have the freedom, whatever, like Moxley. But Cody just did that transition. He literally brought his wrestling character to WWE that he kind of crafted as almost like an anti-WWE character.
Yeah.
And his popularity didn't really wane after losing to Roman because he's just still there.
True.
Even when he was gone after the surgery, he did lose to Roman. That was a big epic thing that didn't help him, but he lost minimal momentum from that, I think, especially compared to people in the past. And he's taken a lot of BS stories since then. Some anyway. Some have been great, like the Hell in a Cell that he did.
Yeah.
With the arm.
Mm-hmm.
But now he beats Brock. He is back on track, brother. And yeah, I do think he's kind of going up from here still.
Oh yeah, I think it's funny. You mentioned he is the same character, and like I always thought Cody was a great wrestler. I was watching old Royal Rumbles, and I'm like, this guy needed to win. Like he's the up-and-coming superstar. And then I thought he wrestled very good in AEW, but I was so sick of him, like doing the same shtick. But he comes to WWE, and I'm like all for it.
Chris, it happened. You wanted Cody to win a Royal Rumble. He did.
Yeah, sorry. That was
he came back and he won.
Yes, I know.
It on Peacock.
And see, so I'm like, see, that's another thing. Subconsciously, it didn't matter that he lost to Roman because I wanted him to win a Royal Rumble, and he did, and I'm still on board.
So, and can we just talk for a second about the all-time great status of Brock Lesnar before we move on?
Yes.
I mean, no, so there is only one Brock Lesnar, for one. Just his size, agility, strength, the skill in the wrestling ring, picking up pro wrestling. He's a one of one Brock Lesnar, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's also up there with the greatest of all time. Like, if you have 10 greatest of all time, I will only allow you to put Brock Lesnar at 11. You can't go lower. Like, yes, there's the all-time greats, but there's been no one that has done what Brock Lesnar has done. And he has gone through periods where he was kind of just collecting a check, coming out for a couple of suplexes. But overall, in the span of his run, it's just unfathomable. Even if you just look at when he came back after being in the UFC, when he came back that random time and attacked John Cena, from that, I don't know if it was like 2013 or whatever, from then to now, he's got an all-time Hall of Fame career, obviously, amongst the best. And that's even before you consider going back to when he debuted in 2002 and like won the championship 6 months later or whatever it was. It was just the sort of like the career of Brock Lesnar in wrestling, and if you throw the UFC in there as well, is just, I mean, there's only a few things that he didn't do. Like, he's an NCAA champion, he's a UFC champion, and obviously a WWE fake champion.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's crazy. I mean, even when he also had the ability to, when he first debuted, I didn't really know who he was, and he got me hooked. He was like my favorite wrestler at the time, back when he debuted and winning the championship. I loved everything about him. I loved watching SmackDown because he was on it. Him and Kurt Angle were my two favorites, and they did everything great, and I was so excited. And then he comes back, and just, like you said, yeah, he had a couple years where he was just cashing checks and suplexes, but I mean, from the John Cena thing where he just suplexed him like 30 times and just beat his ass at SummerSlam, I believe it was, to like beating the streak, to like coming out with all his like crazy hair and cowboy hats and then dancing with a boombox. The guy's really hit his stride too.
And just to really know that he wants to do nothing like that. He wants to just come out and be whatever level of violence is called for today. And then he's doing like the Brock with the boombox, which wasn't the best thing ever, but now he's coming out trying. It's so hard for him to be anything other than this like statue.
Yeah.
You know, and for him to like open up like that, and just anytime he grabs a mic, you know something wild is going to happen. You know?
That's right.
Because he doesn't probably even know what he's going to say, right?
Yeah, plus I also enjoy that he is out there for business, though. You know, like it seems like he's a guy who doesn't mind if it's going to be good for the business or for more money or for another match down the line, he'll just do it. Like, he doesn't have to win every match, you know? I like that about him.
Yeah, he's the human embodiment of a final boss in a video game. He's literally like Goro from Mortal Kombat.
Right.
He's
very good, yeah.
He's a prototypical like giant monster wrestling guy. And it's just, he is still super jacked, looking super violent 20 plus years into his career. You know, the longevity aspect of it as well. Because even if he is just doing those suplexes, he's been doing them for 20 years.
Absolutely.
And he's still, like I said, one of the most feared guys as far as on screen.
Agreed.
But all you got to do, though, is bash his head into the corner post, and you're good. If you want to beat him, though. Same as any giant.
Yes, yes.
All right, so let's get on with the winner of the Battle Royal, L.A. Knight. Yeah, this was a good Battle Royal.
It was.
Almost was a surprise return.
Good to have him back, I guess.
They're getting better and better at presenting almost in this, like, because he's so big and he's very green still, I guess, in a way. I don't really know how to describe his wrestling style, but the crowd was really into this Battle Royal overall. I mean, really more than I've seen a lot of Battle Royals, because it didn't have the slow pace of a Royal Rumble where there's 2-minute intervals.
Yeah.
Everybody's in there at once, so all your favorites are in there at once, whomever they may be. And just the amount of talent in this one made it seem like it was more than just a throwaway Battle Royal. I mean, there was just half the roster was in this Battle Royal.
Yeah, I loved it.
And there wasn't any type of prize or trophy for the winner, except a few minutes later, the winner apparently got a Slim Jim sponsorship, LA Knight, yeah.
Get that money, LA Knight. Yeah.
We got the Macho Man showing up in a Slim Jim commercial. Bianca's in the commercial. LA Knight wins that Slim Jim Battle Royal. I'm just glad Grayson Waller didn't win.
I knew it.
I saw him in that Battle Royal. I just grabbed my remote. I almost changed the channel.
If there was any question that Triple H isn't booking, it's answered now, because if Vince was booking, Grayson Waller's winning. Come on. Or Omos is winning. LA Knight's not winning, so I think we're good.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously the recent news about Vince McMahon, he had there's some spinal surgery that he had, and he's also been recently raided by the FBI. I think those two things probably preventing him from having such a iron grip on the book.
We'll see. Man, whenever the FBI comes for Vince, something goes wrong with his neck area.
You said it, not me. But yes, LA Knight winning the Battle Royal. People are getting what they came to see, which is what we want to see. And I don't think they're going to put the strap on LA Knight, but this is a curious case, LA Knight, because just everybody that gets popular, do they need to be the world champion, or else their career was a failure? Like, can someone just come on our television and be entertaining every week? You know? Yeah,
I mean, Jake Roberts is one of the greatest of all time. He never won a title, right?
I'm not saying I don't want LA Knight to get a magical push. I'm just saying if it doesn't pan out, like Roman Reigns is a champion, Seth Rollins is a champion, I mean, I think that the crowd pops themselves are kind of a victory for him.
Yeah.
It's definitely the validation that a lot of wrestlers seek, right?
Sure. And he's merchandise selling for himself. That's good for him.
And obviously, when you get the top spot, that merchandise selling keeps going, and they give you more merchandise, like Roman and the Usos, who probably aren't going to be selling a lot of those Uso t-shirts anymore.
Yeah.
But, you want to keep that going, obviously. I'm just saying, like, the fans who are saying, like, LA Knight is the latest case of not giving the fans what they want, even though he's out here all the time. There was just those few key moments where he was not part of the show, but maybe WWE is kind of getting more like AEW in that regard, where you won't see your favorites every week because they want to make time for other people. Maybe
I don't mind that. I think that's fine. The only thing I'll say about that is I do agree with you. I don't think that someone has to be strapped to the moon and win a title to be over fun or good to watch. I just think when a guy like LA Knight is here, and then you have the US champion as Austin Theory, which is kind of like dull and no one really cares about. That's, I think, when people get mad, If there was someone who was holding, if there was a Gunther type holding the US title, I think it'd be okay. But we look around and we see Austin Theory as the US champ, and we're like, can LA Knight at least get that one?
Yeah, I think that they're gonna try to give you something with LA Knight, but just not like the main event of WrestleMania. Unfortunately, I don't think it's coming his way, but we'll see.
But I think, like you said, that's all right. If he's at WrestleMania in a high-profile match, good. That's all I need.
I think he should have won the Money in the Bank, though.
That would have been fun, yes.
Because he doesn't even have to win that cash-in. As long as it's not an utter embarrassment, which I guess just by generally not winning, it kind of is, because you got Money in the Bank, and then you're not leaving the bank with any money if you lose. So you obviously, it's like either win or get embarrassed with the Money in the Bank. But I'm just saying, like, just carrying the briefcase could have been good for him. It's kind of a
right.
championship all by itself, kind of.
especially with Finn Balor not defeating Seth Rollins at this very show. I think it's a little. I mean, it would have made perfect sense for Damian Priest to win if Finn Balor was a champion. I love that story, but then he doesn't win, so what are you gonna do?
Well, we'll get to that. We have to talk about this MMA fight that happened at SummerSlam.
I'm sorry. Yes.
So there was an MMA rules contest at SummerSlam. I looked around the ring. I did not see 3 judges that were appointed by the Michigan State Athletic Commission, but this was an MMA rules fight. Didn't go over well with the crowd. So these two, Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey, the story is right that Ronda and Shayna were training, MMA. Shayna Baszler gets Ronda Rousey to become a fan of wrestling by watching Raw every week, and then Shayna Baszler is in her wrestling career, transitioning from MMA. Ronda Rousey, after her MMA career, after her championship run, she decides to come over to WWE and make a big splash. And she had one run, and then she left and had a baby, and now she's back. And the second run has not been very well received.
No.
Everybody talks about Ronda's eye makeup. Like, her eye makeup is what it's like that's the big problem. But it all came to this, right? This was the end. This is likely the end of Ronda Rousey's latest run, potentially ever, in WWE. There's rumors, that might be true about her going back to MMA. I haven't heard anything credible, but it just would be cool, I guess. So here we are, Shayna Baszler, Ronda Rousey, MMA rules. They were hitting each other with some real strikes in this one to, make it look real. Just really punching each other. Ref constantly getting in between them. I think that was weird, and I think that is what really ultimately ruined the pace of this match, was you're having a match that has different rules. Okay, so what are those? Well, you didn't establish a single one. And they're just punching each other, and then the ref gets in between. And as we all know, in MMA, when your opponent is hurt, you move in to finish the fight with a submission or some kind of strikes. The ref doesn't give the opponent time to take constant breaks and check on them. It's like, if your arm is broken, if you're dizzy, you're getting finished in this fight. But obviously they can't have a 30-second fight. I mean, they could have, but they didn't. So this one wasn't great. Shayna got the win. These two put on the performance that they wanted to, so that was good for them, I guess.
Yeah, at least Shayna won, right?
Yeah. So then we get Gunther defeating Drew McIntyre. This was a good match. Very hard-hitting, as expected.
Oh, yeah.
Drew got some good offense in, I thought, in this one.
Yeah, he looked good. I actually thought he might actually win, but I'm glad he didn't, because I like that Gunther's making that Intercontinental title super elevated. Very important.
Drew McIntyre, a little bit bigger than Gunther.
I kind of crazy, yeah.
Drew
I'm glad he's back, though.
Yeah, he's about as, he made it look as good as you can and still losing, because he got so much offense in there against Gunther. And yeah, it did make Gunther look like he was taking on kind of he not necessarily met his match, so to speak, but he was taking on a fellow, super tough guy that, is a threat.
Yeah, exactly.
And yes, Gunther retains, continuing on the streak that will surpass the Honky Tonk Man as the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. It will be Gunther, and then Gunther. All right, this is what's going to happen. Gunther is going to challenge Roman Reigns as the Intercontinental Champion, and then he will beat Roman Reigns. Writing it down here. Gunther.
I like it.
He'll never lose, and he'll beat Roman, and then he'll give up the Intercontinental Championship. And then Raven can win it.
Okay, now hold on.
Well, we're bringing back ECW people. Raven was cool.
I don't care. He was cool. I liked him.
All right, so let's get into Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. So this was probably the second best match of the night. I thought the women's match was the best match of the night. This was up there, though. They could have been a tie. So this was a very good match. Damian Priest came down during the match, and then so did Rhea Ripley and Dirty Dom Mysterio. We got some friction amongst the Judgment Day. Damian Priest trying to give Balor the briefcase. They had some miscommunication. They started arguing. Seth Rollins hits a stomp on Finn Balor on the briefcase. Balor kicks out. So then Seth Rollins takes out the other members. Balor hits the coup de grace, but it was not. Priest put the briefcase in the ring again. Seth hit the... Wait, did he hit a stomp on the briefcase twice? Or no, did he just hit a stomp earlier in the match?
Just a stomp earlier, yeah.
Oh, yeah, because they were confused about the briefcase. So then now the briefcase goes in the ring again, and Seth uses it to get the stomp on Balor, on the briefcase, on the PPV, on the PLE. And yes, Seth Rollins wins by pinfall. Like I said, good match. Match of the night. Contender, for sure.
Very, very good match, and continuing the trend of someone not losing anything in defeat. Finn Balor looked great too, so I do like that. I just do wish he won, though. I thought it would be more compelling.
Priest did not cash in the contract, so that we still have senior Money in the Bank.
Good. I like when it's out there for longer. You never know what he's going to do.
So then we get my favorite match from SummerSlam 2023, Bianca Belair defeating Asuka and Charlotte to win the WWE Women's Championship. This was a great match, I thought.
Absolutely.
These women are the best wrestlers in the world, and IYO Sky coming out that is the top four in my opinion. These four: Bianca, Asuka, Charlotte, IYO Sky.
Hard to argue that.
And I just think Bianca's number one. I'm sorry. I just think Bianca is the best wrestler in the world, the best female wrestler in the world.
Bianca
Belair,
I agree,
folks. It's the same thing like I was saying about, Brock and Logan Paul. It's like, just watch what Bianca does. It's like, Charlotte is also right up there. And Charlotte had this great thing where Bianca does I believe it was the 450 after she had the ankle injury, and Charlotte was in the figure eight. And it's like, doing that spot, Charlotte is up in a figure eight with her torso bent upwards. It's like, you have to know exactly when to move. And like, if you go back and watch the replay, it was like perfect finish to the match.
Yeah, they're crisp. That's a very important.
That's the difference. Is there's been a lot of discourse about women's wrestling and women's matches, and there's a lot of viral short clips of certain matches and certain spots that didn't come out too good, and it's like, this is the top: Bianca, Asuka, Charlotte, and IYO Sky. IYO Sky, she might be the best wrestler in the world. I think it's Bianca right now.
I think you're right, and I think Bianca versus IYO Sky 1-on-1 is going to be awesome, and I can't wait for that. If that happens, I hope it does.
So Bianca wins. She's the champ. Good night, folks. That's all she wrote. No, she was the champ for about 1 minute because IYO Sky comes out, cashes in her Money in the Bank contract, and wins the WWE Women's title. This was a great cash-in my opinion.
I love a cash-in like this, yeah. It makes sense. Like, if you're going to cash in, I know you want to, honorable, say, I'm going to cash in at this pay-per-view. No. Take advantage of the briefcase. Come out after someone had a hard, grueling match and win that way.
Yeah, I thought all the pieces were there. It was great. So you have Bianca, who has this injury during the match, right? She has to be helped out of the match. She's out of the match, They played it so well where it could have been real. They were at that stage of the game where they're having the medical people. And both AEW and WWE having some medical people here. Take some punishment around lately. But they were trying to help Bianca out, and she runs back in, does a 450, like I said, after this injury that she had to be taken out of the match for, wins, but she wins, and her night is not over yet. She's still injured, and then we hear the music of IYO Sky, who comes running down the long-ass ramp, not really a ramp, just the walkway, with Bayley, and there was Bayley put out I don't know if it was TikTok or some short video where somebody was talking to her as she was walking in, and she was like, great, we're going to win the championship tonight. I mean, IYO is, and she just kept walking. It was great. But so yeah, this was perfect because this had that sense of urgency that really makes a Money in the Bank cash in exciting and makes it kind of what it is, because now you have, so they come out with the contract, with the briefcase, they're beating up the other two women so they can't save Bianca, right? Then they hit Bianca one time for good measure with the briefcase. She's injured. IYO Sky is climbing the top rope, and she's literally throwing up the ringing the bell sign with her hands. She's in such a rush to get that bell rung. The second the bell rings, she's off the top rope with the finisher, gets the win so quick. That's how you need to do it. And like I said, this was a great cash-in overall, for sure.
Oh, yeah, I loved it. And you know what the best part is, too, I think, is that we kind of, maybe not expected it, but we always know that it might happen, and we're kind of like on the edge of our seats. And sometimes that backfires and people don't like it. But I was fully aware that it could happen and probably was going to happen, but I loved every minute of it. And that's, I think, makes it great, too.
I thought it was great. That's all I can say.
Michael Cole, also great in the call. I see in the notes from World of Stardom to the Top of the World. That's a great call. Michael Cole, come on.
Michael Cole, yes, thank you for not letting me skip over that. From World of Stardom to the Top of the World. Thank you, Michael Cole.
That's an awesome call. Man, what a guy.
Doesn't Michael Cole like constantly make Lucha Underground references too? About like Santos Escobar and stuff.
Hey, he's referencing everything. I love it.
Yes, we see you, Michael Cole. Your little Easter eggs.
That's right.
That wasn't really an Easter egg. It was just he just mentioned Stardom. Oh my God!
That's a great line, though. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. That's why I put it in the notes.
That's right.
So this was a great victory for Bianca. It was also a great victory for IYO Sky. And then Dakota Kai at SummerSlam gets in the ring. All of Damage Control celebrates. Very big win for IYO Sky. Thought it was awesome. Thought it was probably the best moment of the night overall.
Sure.
And yeah, Dakota Kai not back from injury. Just wanted to kind of be there for that moment. Damage Control.
You're definitely made it feel bigger when she's there. They're all there. They all celebrate.
Baby faces. Damage Control. Apparently.
I guess so.
All right. So then as the night grew longer than Roman Reigns' beard hair, we got to the main event, kind of tribal combat, because it was supposed to be tribal combat. No one can interfere in tribal combat. Solo Sikoa couldn't even hit his own brother with a Samoan spike a week before tribal combat. Once tribal combat is announced, there can't be any interference. So, of course, there was. So this one was for the WWE Undisputed. Is it still called the Universal Championship, or that's the one where they got rid of, was Universal?
Yeah, I think it's just Undisputed. Yeah.
Undisputed Championship. And also the chiefdom of the Hawaii tribe.
Almost more important, yes.
So we had some AI Yokozuna on the broadcast talking about the tribal elders. Am I supposed to believe that Yokozuna is a tribal elder?
I guess. Sure.
It's possible. Do you have to go to like a different plane of existence to talk with them though? Like, do you have to like cover yourself in purple sand and then drink some juice and then you go and talk to the elders of the tribe? So the match itself was good. You know, it wasn't bad. You said it dragged on, but I really, really, really thought they were going to stick to the rules that WWE themselves established for tribal combat and have Roman beat Jey Uso without interference, but no.
I mean, I did say it dragged on, and I think the moment it started dragging for me was when the interference started to happen, because I was very well aware of the rules, and I also thought it dragged on when Roman won. I if he had lost the match, I don't think it drags, but I just feel like, oh, we're back to this again.
Yeah, so they go out into the crowd. You know, it's like Roman is getting to Triple H levels with going out into the crowd, you know, like 30 minutes into a match.
Yeah.
I mean, Roman and Triple H had their long-ass WrestleMania match in like WrestleMania 32.
Yeah, you're right. It
was like the worst hour of wrestling. But no, this wasn't the worst hour of wrestling, but it was an hour. Roman's entrance was like 5 minutes. Jey Uso's entrance was like 5 minutes. And I like Roman's entrance. I think it's great.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, we get out into the crowd. Who gets involved? Solo Sikoa. I mean, do they got to, like, lock this guy in the locker room? Otherwise, he's just going to come out? Like, he starts beating up Jey Uso, helping Roman. He's carrying Jey Uso back through the crowd.
Yeah.
Dumps him off, you know, ringside. When Roman is in the ring, he inadvertently spears his cousin Solo, who, when he gets speared by his tribal chief, doesn't know what to think. Now he's angry at Roman, and he's looking at him like he might take on the tribal chief. Confusion, anger, possible hanger.
Yes.
Jey uses this distraction to spear Roman through the barricade. take out Solo with a splash from Jey Uso. Back to, even here. Nobody else is coming out here to help Jey Uso. Take Solo out of the equation. You got to use that outside table for something.
Oh, yeah. That's not for commentary.
Then we get to the finish. Yikes. That's what I think of this finish. Yikes. Jey Uso hits an Uso splash, goes for the pin. He gets pulled out of the ring by a mystery man in all black, who reveals himself to be, no, damn it, it's Jimmy Uso. Why, Us? Why? Why, Us?
Why?
So Jimmy Uso costs his twin brother the WWE Undisputed Championship. Way to go, buddy. What a betrayal. Jimmy throws Jey into the ring. Roman spears him through a table, gets the pinfall. Hashtag and still WWE Undisputed Cheater Roman Reigns.
Yes.
Biggest cheater of them all. I actually thought that it was, getting to be that time for Roman to win a match clean. And it's tribal combat. It's almost like when they have a Hell in a Cell, and then it's like, your buddies aren't supposed to be involved. They inevitably still get involved, but, just like the point of the match. I thought it was to get Roman back on track and get off of this cheating stuff. But he's just a low-down, dirty heel. He's just cheating.
He really is.
It's a damn heel move. So, yeah, Roman wins. Thoughts on the finish? I didn't like it. Okay, we are at the point of this storyline and almost every other storyline in wrestling where it's just like it was with the Bray Wyatt stuff. Not when he came back as like Uncle Howdy, but before that, when people would say, just let it play out. We're at a point of the bloodline where if you don't like something, people are going to act like you just don't get it. Like, wait till you see what's coming next.
Yeah.
You don't know what's coming next, okay? And I bet you, as Paul Heyman is talking and Triple H is talking, they don't know what's coming next beyond a certain point, obviously, right? But Paul Heyman is saying afterwards that this is just the bottom of the third inning in the bloodline story. Well, that would mean this is going to go on until 2029. That's right. Because this has been going on for 3 goddamn years. It's like, imagine the time period of Triple H and Batista. Like, what was it, WrestleMania? Like, when did Batista actually retire? WrestleMania 35 or 36?
Oh, let me do the math. Yeah.
Against Triple H. And then before that, he was gone for like 6 years. Now, imagine if Triple H and Batista, WrestleMania 30, right? So WrestleMania 30, Batista comes back after already being gone, right?
Yeah.
He's supposed to win. He's Drax the Destroyer. Wrong. People want Daniel Bryan, right? But anyways, Batista comes back, and imagine him and Triple H feuding at WrestleMania 30, and then just never stopping having a feud until he retires at WrestleMania 35.
Oh, yeah.
That's what this is. It's nonstop. Yeah. It's every week. I mean, obviously, Roman's not here every week. He's under an umbrella with his 5 kids, hopefully.
That's right.
But the Usos now are going to be in your city every week just fighting each other.
Oh, that's going to last for like 3 years too, and Roman's not going to be involved.
So it's 2023. We've only got 6 years left of this feud. There's only 6 years left. So, like, by the time this feud is over, FTR they're going to be retired from wrestling. They've already said they're only going to do it for 4 more years, and it's been like a few months since that. So FTR is already going to be retired. FTR bald is going to be called FTR dead. FTR hair is going to be called FTR gray hair. And the Usos are still going to be feuding every other week, super kicking each other. My God! So what I'm saying is it's okay not to like any portion of this. It can still get better from here. It's like, oh, well, the pieces of the puzzle, you don't get the whole picture until the end. Okay, fair enough. But like the show ends every time, every time there's a match, every time there's a main event, that show ended, just like WrestleMania ended. You could say, oh, the story keeps going. No. Story keeps going. What do you mean? They weren't on the card.
Even the best books have endings, though, and then authors write more stuff.
But the library doesn't have an ending.
All right, fine.
You go to the book, and the book's closed, and then you go. There's another book, just another book.
You got me, Paul. Maybe the book is the problem, and it's you.
maybe the person holding the book. No, I just think that like they're just kind of doing whatever with this. They have a lot of time on the board here. It's just with Roman being champion. I do think that they're gonna try to make him beat Hogan's thing. It's not just Bruno or whoever is second highest. Or no, is it Hogan then Bruno? I think actually Hogan is longer. I think
cumulative, probably, yeah.
Maybe either way, Roman's just gonna have it. I mean, this is the thing. Everybody keeps talking about Cody at WrestleMania next year. He wouldn't have beat Hogan's record by then, I don't think.
Oh, you're right.
You know?
Okay. Oh, man.
So, you know?
I mean, I agree with you. Who knows where it's going to go? But I mean, I kind of know where the story's going to go, right? Jimmy and Jay are going to feud, and then eventually Solo's going to turn on Roman. I get it. We're planting the seeds already.
This is like those puzzles where you have to move things from one side to the other, and there's like all this overlapping stuff where you have to move the piece 2 spots over and then 1 spot back, and then the other piece goes over the top of that one, and then it's like everything is going backwards 1 step to go forward 2 steps. So yeah, they're gonna super kick each other 3 more times. Solo is gonna turn on Roman 4 more times, and then but that's all. That's what they've got left is, you know, they went through this thing, and the reason why I didn't like this is because they went through this whole story of Jimmy and Jay Uso, and Jimmy Uso convincing Jay Uso to break away from Roman because of the way he's been treating them. And now I know they're just going to say, oh, well, now there's a reason that Jimmy did this. He was tricking his brother that time. Okay, fine, but it's just gone back and forth so many times that it's like these people are either tricking each other. How would they ever be friends? They would just be done with each other. It's like, because you could never trust someone who's super kicked you and tricked you 3 times in the past 3 years already. Like, you just wouldn't mess with that person anymore. It's like the last time they hugged you and said, we're brothers, oh God, you know, that was great. And it's supposed to be, you know, like you're undoing a lot of stuff at a certain point is what I'm saying.
The only thing, I agree with everything you said. The only thing that I will accept in this storyline that I will be okay with is if Jimmy is not affiliated with Roman Reigns. He was just, let's just say he's jealous of Jay because Jimmy wants the world title, right? If that's how it goes, I'm okay with it. But if Jimmy's right back next to Roman and they're all against Jay, I'm going to be like, here we go again. Ugh.
Yeah, I don't think like Jey Uso should have won the match. Obviously, I just think the finish for Roman. And you know what's interesting about this is obviously we've got criticism of this, and we will have criticism of the Bloodline story in the future. It's almost like it's like the wine tasting every week. It's like, oh, this one's a little salty, or what. I don't know what wine people do, but it's like, you know, you're just getting these like fine little bits of like, I like this, but I didn't like that. And I think the funny thing is we have the luxury of criticizing these wrestling storylines because overall, they're pretty much better than they've been in like 24 years.
Great point.
You know, obviously the Bloodline story is like an all-timer, no matter how far back you're going. But I just mean in general, when we're able to say Roman should have done this should have happened that way, that's because the rest of it is good enough and we can care about these little things. Like, nobody cares about the story on a TV show that sucks.
Exactly.
It's like on Game of Thrones, people cared about the ending of that show or The Sopranos or whatever because they cared about the show. If it was a stupid show, they wouldn't have cared how it ended. So it's really that all of these stories are generally really good and we're really invested in them. And it's not that someone's getting robbed of a spot or the absolute wrong thing is happening, like what happened at WrestleMania with Cody losing. It's just that we can say, this should have gone that way. Versus in the past, we would have just been like, so this match never happened. They never gave an excuse for this. They retconned this person. They dropped that person's last name. And everybody's just called Steve now. And then, you know, Vince McMahon is so focused on what words they can and can't say on screen that there's no continuity. There's no story. People are leaving the product in droves. And now the story is so much better that there's actually a lot of new wrestling fans tuning into this stuff now.
That's true.
You know?
You're right. Yeah. I mean, like you said about wine tasting, you know, it's like overall, though, you still like wine. Even if one week you don't like the bitterness or the next week you don't like the sugar content, you're still going back because you love wine. So I think you're right.
Yeah. So it's in the past, I would have said like, nope, they screwed it. They ruined it. They ruined this guy. They ruined that guy. They ruined the story. But it's just this. I mean, we're only in the bottom of the third, apparently, according to the wise man, Paul Heyman. So we got a lot more pitches in this game.
We'll see. Oh.
And I got some pitches myself here in my notebook, if I can just get it open here. This is my pitch. Ready? Gunta. That's all I got. That's my only pitch.
Good pitch.
Yeah. Put that one in pen, so it means it's happening. So, yes. The Usos are going to be split up. That's what we know for sure. Yep. At least for a little while. Because this is what I mean, is if they eventually come back and like, oh, we're brothers again, we're a tag team again. Come on. It's like you're undoing 3 months ago every time you do that.
Ugh.
But yes, so Roman Reigns retains the title. He is still the tribal chief. Good night from Detroit. That was SummerSlam.
Well said.
Yeah, overall good show, like I said. But so this is my thoughts on wrestling and booking and finishing and all this stuff. We see a lot of positives right now. We have a lot of faith in good old Hunter Hearst Helmsley from Greenwich, Connecticut. And if I was to make a bold, like, hot take, I would say that we know what Triple H is good at. Building talent, this character building, right? Character development. Putting people in positions to, like, agent matches. A lot of these matches are much better than they were years ago, overall.
Oh, yeah.
Even on the undercard that we don't even get to sometimes, right? But if he's dropping the ball anywhere, it's these big match endings. And I think it's because that is where there are a lot of other voices and players and stakeholders. And he's still relatively new to having to balance all of these stakeholders in these big, with deciding how the big moment is going to go.
That's a great point. Yeah, you're probably right. It makes sense to me.
Like, nobody doubts that if Triple H went back down to NXT, there would be a lot of cool characters with cool music, cool vignettes, and cool jackets.
Oh, yeah, definitely cool jackets, yes.
You know, and then now we're seeing on the main roster a lot of, you know, good stuff. It's just, if there's any criticism, it is, are you able to finish the story? And they've just got the one story, really, that just is the never-ending story. So let's get into this business on AEW Collision. CM Punk is out here creating championships like he's playing WWE 2K. Because we apparently have a new X division in AEW. And in order to compete in this division, you have to be 100% sober. You cannot be on drugs or alcohol.
Very good. So that means he'll never lose the title because no one else is in the division in wrestling.
No steroids. You have to also be on USADA testing. So no steroids. You also have to be a vegan. So there you go. I mean, Brian can still compete.
Oh, there you go.
And you also can't be mean to people at gas stations. That's also one of the X's, being a straight edge. You can't be mean to people at gas stations.
Oh, boy. We're really winding the field down very low.
This is an X division. It's only for the toughest of the tough and the best of the best. No,
it's not weight limits, it's no limits, if you will.
CM Punk has spray painted his AEW championship. I enjoyed the introduction of this belt. I think that they need to do more, though, than just say it's the real world championship, and it literally is just an AEW title with an X on it. The X on it is fine. But here's what I thought was interesting. The same episode of Collision that CM Punk says, no one's beaten him for this championship. He's the real world champion. He spray paints the X, which, the conspiracy theorists out there, he spray painted over the E for elite. I
know.
Oh, boy. Or he just did it right in the middle of the belt, whichever. And, but he spray painted the X. That AEW title has about as much prestige as really anything in wrestling. I thought that part was a little weird, that you're now doing the Hollywood Hogan thing of spray painting it. He should have just came out and said, this is the CM Punk title, and had a new one. Whatever it was.
Yeah.
Could have been like Matt Cardona's old, or Zack Ryder's old internet title with like his own head on it, with like the spiked hair. Could have just been like a CM Punk with a buzz cut on a title. But yeah, so spray painting the AEW title was a little bit weird to me. Doesn't necessarily ruin anything. But then on that same episode, you have the actual world champion, MJF. He's coming out and he's playing games with Adam Cole when someone else just said they were the world champion and they have a belt. And you're there.
That is weird, yeah.
And it's not even like it seems like they are eventually going to build to a champion versus champion match, right? MJF, CM Punk, wherever, possibly All Out. So
probably.
But just for them to do it on the same show, it's like MJF should come out and the first thing he should say is that idiot who came out here earlier, or obviously some nice MJF promo and or a one-liner, like, that guy came out here with that fake belt or whatever can go back to not doing drugs or something like that. I don't know. So, but we do have a new real world champion. His name is Phil Brooks, and he created the new X division, and he defended this title against Ricky Starks. And I think I've cleared up my confusion here. So Ricky Starks used heel moves and cheated to win the Owen Hart tournament, the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. Yep. He was then a jerk to Jushin Thunder Liger as he walked by him. So that's a heel move. But the fans were cheering him up until that point. So that was what was weird. It was a heel turn that didn't really get over immediately.
Yep.
And then you have Punk, who some of the fans don't want to cheer. They want to boo him, so it's kind of like cheering. But they don't want to cheer him as the babyface, and he is a babyface. And now that's it's like they're kind of settling in where Punk's back to mostly being a babyface, because if he comes out and he does the CM Punk, anti-establishment stuff enough, people will get back on his side.
Sure.
Just like recently with that MJF promo, when the crowd, MJF sometimes gets these people to shut their mouths like few others and just listen. Like when MJF starts talking about how he got bullied as a kid, those crowds are silent. Like very few people can do that,
Yeah.
But yeah, so Punk, he's getting the crowd back. Obviously, he's not going to have some cities, but so he retained against Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks beat up Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. This obviously was the cement on a heel turn. For me, this is what set it in stone. And you're going to beat up Ricky the Dragon Steamboat? It's inexcusable, in my opinion. So, Ricky Starks didn't win the X Division title. And now, earlier and on that episode, which was weird, so CM Punk's defending the title against Ricky Starks. Earlier in the night, Samoa Joe comes out and challenges CM Punk for a match at All In Wembley, All In London. Like, he didn't win he has to defend his title. He didn't win yet. He didn't retain it yet.
Yeah, right.
What if he loses? So, but yes, Punk and Samoa Joe are likely now going to face off at All In. What do you think of that matchup for the Pape?
Oh, man. I mean, I love Samoa Joe, and I think they'll have another good match, but it is kind of... It's underwhelming to me because I think Samoa Joe is just wrestled too much. I think he's like, I don't want to say he's old, but like he can't do the stuff he could do 10 years ago, which is the kind of match that I would actually think would steal the show. But like right now, I don't know. It'll be fine. It'll be fun. Joe will come out, kick some ass. Punk will be great. But I feel like there's way more opponents. This is a common problem, I think, in AEW sometimes. I feel like we're all like, isn't there more different opponents that we kind of want to see CM Punk or whoever face? And I think that's a problem that happens sometimes. And this is one of those cases.
Yeah. Well, Samoa Joe did make a compelling pitch for the match, especially seeing as how they just wrestled in a semifinal tournament match.
True.
And Punk won that one. But Joe came out and kind of did a reset on everything and said, like, you beat me with a roll-up, and we have such a history together that's not going to be good enough. So they're kind of setting it up so they're going to have this big, knockdown, drag-out match, which that'll be great if they do.
Yeah.
And then the other match that I wanted to talk about for All In, that is now actually official as of our recording after Dynamite last night, FTR challenges the Young Bucks. First of all, the champs challenging the challengers for a match at All In. They're going for greatness. They both want to be the best tag team of all time. I do think FTR is the best tag team of all time, but I think that the Young Bucks are going to win it All In.
I agree on both. And I'm okay with that. And I think it's going to be awesome. That's going to be another... the card's shaping up.
So it's a lot of, run it back type matches. Not exactly rematches because they didn't all just happen. But a lot of matchups we've already seen. So we'll see. I think our dream card hopes are diminished with all of these injuries that are happening out there in the wrestling world.
But I mean, that's still... we might be running it back. But I think the people who are running it back can really put on some great performances, so it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, so we'll see what All In ends up looking like as the build continues to what they're basically calling the biggest stage in professional wrestling. It's borderline the biggest wrestling event of all time. It's close already with ticket sales. So
yeah, oh yeah.
So we'll see. And now, before we get out of here, we have got to talk about the return of our favorite show Heels on Stars. Heels is back for season 2. I went on my Fire Stick, like just using it legally, not using the code of getting something on a Fire Stick, if people still say that these days. I went on my Fire Stick and actually did sign up for a dang Stars subscription, people. You got me. And I will tell you, if you want my consumer feedback, it's because of the show Heels, okay? That's why. I'll give you $10 per episode if you make me, okay? I'm sorry. But
don't say that. They'll make you.
Well, that's what they're gonna do basically, because I have to have. I want to now keep this Stars subscription until the season finale. I'm back. I'm back in Duffy, basically.
Yeah. I have my free trial, and then when the show concludes, I will get Stars and watch it all. Then I will cancel Stars.
So season 1 of Heels ended, as you already know, because we already know that you already listened to our Heels Season 1 deep dive. That was back in the days before we had a nice camera that we're not even using right now for this camera here. That just died on me before we started. Before we had the Moneymaker on screen, we were just a couple of wayward sons doing audio podcasts, and we did a great job on the Heels review. So good job on that one, wrestling fan Kris.
Yeah, it's kind of like, how earlier we talked about Brock Lesnar, when he really loves something, he really puts his heart in it. That was us for Heels Season 1 review.
It was an all-timer on this podcast for sure. Some of our finest work, and we're happy to do it.
Absolutely.
Which is why you should be kind, subscribe, watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. Now, let's get into Heels Season 2. We have had 2 episodes as of this podcast recording. So Heels Season 1 ended at the South Georgia State Fair with Bunny Bombshell, technically was her name still, even though she'd already took off the bunny ears. So Crystal winning the DWL Championship in a ladder match. Season 2 picks up right there. We dive back into a flashback of trigger warning of Jack and Ace finding their father, Tom Spade, after he had just committed suicide. So that was a very jarring moment in the first episode. We're right off to the races with, the worst times in these guys' life as we come back onto the show. And this was a flashback. So this had already happened, and then you're kind of it was almost like an episode of Lost where they're kind of filling you in on how Ace got into wrestling, before season 1, where he's like this top babyface in the DWL. So he's just getting into wrestling, saying he's got it in his blood and that Jack should let him, get in the ring. And so you watch that unfold. He actually makes his debut at like a Tom King Spade memorial show in the Duffy Dome. So that was cool. Got to see Ace.
Yeah, it works for me. I like the kind of filling in of the backstory and like giving us a little more, see what kind of molded Ace to be what he is and what happened to him in season 1. I like it a lot. Good way to start the new season.
Yeah, and we got a dumpster match, I think it was, on the memorial show between, was it Rooster and Big Jim in a dumpster match?
I think it was, and I loved it.
It was Rooster time for a second, but... Or was it Diego Cottonmouth in the dumpster match? I can't remember. But there was a couple new faces in the DWL locker room as well this season that we're going to have to learn more about. We're going to have to go to that IMDb page, son. But... yeah, so we're excited for season 2. There's some weird stuff going on. Ace Spade is not in the DWL. He left town now that the flashback is over, and we're back to the present time at the State Fair. He didn't like the finish of that one. It didn't work for him, so he stormed out. He left. He went home. He took his Xbox. He went camping. That's where Ace is at, and we're not going to spoil the end of the episode of season 2, but obviously something happens to Ace. And... you got Wild Bill. He's still creeping around. He is hooking up with people from the State Fair committee. Can't resist. And
I know maybe I'm not supposed to, but I love Wild Bill. I love him.
I know we compared him a lot to like a mix of like Ric Flair, Michael P.S. Hayes, all these guys from like the 80s.
Oh, and he does a great job. Chris Bauer, I believe, the actor, is very good at that, and he really makes me. And I just, one of my favorites, all-time favorite characters, not just on Heels, but in TV.
And Jack Spade, his family's still somewhat torn apart. He's running late for lawnmower sales meetings. It's just another day in the life of Jack Spade. You know, after the state fair, the DWL is still hanging on by a thread. They're trying to use this buzz and momentum that they generated with the finish that was kind of called on the spot to finish the state fair in front of all those people. And then, of course, outside the state fair, you got Charlie Gully cutting a promo on social media, shitting on the finish. That was actually kind of funny. And I think, you know, I think it's possible for Mike O'Malley to kind of come into a groove. Like, I would like to see, like, season 5 of the, like, Mike O'Malley writing a wrestling show.
Yes.
You know? Because it's like you got to get through explaining what's a heel, what's a face, what's a finish, what's a kayfabe. And once you get past that, and it's just the people trying to be themselves, like, that was really funny to me, the promo that he cut when he's standing outside. He's like, who wins? The fucking valet. That's who. I just thought it was hilarious.
It's great. That was great. But one of the things that I really enjoyed about it was that I was really mad. Like, I was like, I'm like rooting for the DWL. I'm rooting for Crystal. And I'm just like, how dare you say that, you asshole? But, like, not in a bad way. Like, it was really good. It really hooked me on.
I thought it was just great because it was like, obviously that finish got over. That's the point. The finish worked. It was a great finish, and it got the people going and generated buzz for the DWL. This is how wrestling actually works. This is actually what they did great, because whether it's an indie show or WrestleMania, just like this podcast, from viral indie moments to the main event of WrestleMania, watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. No, this is how it works. Whether you're in a small, dumpy auditorium in Enfield, Connecticut, or WrestleMania, you get the people coming back by having a finish like that. They want to see more. They want to come back next month, whatever. It's still a truth, right, in wrestling.
Yeah, it's old school, yeah.
So, and then Mike O'Malley's just the fucking valet. That's who won. Like, you know, as someone who's considered filming social media little things out in public, just like if you're out at that wrestling show and you see that guy outside and he's shitting on the finish of the show you just watched, clearly with his like other middle-aged friends for their social media, oh my God, that is just what I do not want to be, my friends. So
I would have to go. I'd have to go over there and see, though, because that would be insane. Especially the way Michael O'Malley looks in the show. Oh my God.
So Mike O'Malley is still running the Florida wrestling dystopia. We haven't really gone to Florida yet on this season as of the first 2 episodes, so that's a spoiler. We didn't really, nothing's happened there yet. I think we do end up down there, though, down at the old Dave and Buster's that they converted into a wrestling auditorium.
Yes. I mean, we have to go back. I mean, I got to see more.
Yeah, and so Ace he's camping. He's not in the DWL. So, and they also, in the flashback, they when Jack was basically booking the memorial show for his dad, he had a script, and that was kind of a big thing for them, having a script. Usually, Tom King Spade just let them do whatever they wanted, generally.
See, I like how, I do like you were mentioning about Michael O'Malley, too, I like how it's kind of like, now we're going to get into some backstage stuff, like scripts or not scripts, what the people used to let me do and what they don't do. It's more politics coming in now, brother.
Yeah, and then speaking of politics, we got a new champion, Crystal. And I mean, after watching that finish, you got to keep the belt on her. You got to at least take it off of her in a interesting way. Otherwise, you kill all that heat that you just generated. So they've got Crystal as the champion, and Jack is trying to write her off as the champion. And I believe it is in episode 2 where we get our first actual, like, full on-screen DWL promo interview segment. Like in season 1, they had that car wash. They had a car wash promo where Jack was like filming and they were beating each other up in the car wash. But you were kind of watching them film that video for their promotion on social media. But this time around, you get the view of watching this DWL promo where the owner of the pawn shop is like the commissioner of the DWL, and he is like talking about how there was some weird stuff in the match, and they like strip Crystal of the DWL title. They hold it in abeyance, folks, and then they book a 3-way ladder match with Wild Bill, Jack, and Crystal. Talk about a dream match.
I mean, that is, and I mean,
just Jack and Crystal is a dream match.
Crystal has to win. We can't make her go over strong.
So spoiler, we are going to reveal the end, kind of the end of episode 2 of season 2. Yes, Crystal does win the ladder match, and then she takes, speaking of the X Division, she takes the belt and like crawls across this rope up to the balcony of the Duffy Dome.
See, I wasn't even trying to spoil it. I was just saying, like, if I was booking that show, that's what I would do.
So then also, I've been listening to this podcast on the Ringer podcast feed with David Shoemaker, where he talks to just people from the show and about the show. It's really another, like ours, another great podcast about the show Heels. And I believe it was either the director or writer, Michael Waldron. He was talking about how the town of Duffy, Georgia is based off of like 2 towns that they went to in Georgia. And I definitely recommend, if you like Heels, obviously go check out the Ringer podcast. They do a weekly Heels review, if you're so inclined. And he was talking about how there was like 2 towns. It was like Lithonia, Georgia, and one other town that they kind of combined to make into Duffy, Georgia. And they were going around places looking for where they could put the Duffy Dome, and they found this old rail yard. And so that was kind of the backstory of Duffy. And obviously he does a much better job of explaining it on that podcast.
It's okay.
But yes, we are back in Duffy. Cannot wait till the next episode. This is a show that I'd pay a lot of money for, just to watch, to be able to binge watch it.
I love it, and I'm glad it's back. And I also have more of an appreciation for it too, since we have settled into our indie god status. You know, when season 1 came around, we weren't really on the scene. Now we are. So here we go.
I think in that flashback of the memorial show for Tom King Spade. And I don't know if Heels is one of those shows that uses these weird background actors where it's like either an AI person or a robot person, or some type of motherfucker that is not real. I don't know if that motherfucker back there is not real. Okay, but like the crowd is panning, and there was a dude in that Duffy, Georgia Duffy Dome crowd that I swear to God we saw last week in East Hampton at the Pro Wrestling Grind show. The guy almost hit me with his pickup pulling into the parking lot, I swear.
It might have been him. Who knows?
Yeah, we went to the Pro Wrestling Grind show. Do you want to just transition into that one before we get
might
out
as
of here?
well. Yeah, sure.
So we went to a show in East Hampton. It's 2 weeks ago at this point. Our first Grind Puro Pro Wrestling Grind show. Mm-hmm. We just kind of sat there. It was very loud in that the acoustics of this Pulaski Hall were not great. I mean, so I checked on decibel levels. I showed you my Apple Watch when the hometown hero, Delmi Exo, got announced for her match. And I showed you the decibel levels on my Apple Watch. And I don't know if you remember, but it said 110 decibels.
It did.
Which is damaging to your ears. And it's like as loud as a jet, just so you know. So we were getting our ears damaged, right? And I knew that walking in. And we were there for, like, obviously several hours. So that part was uncomfortable. The acoustics of that room were... There was so much distortion that wrestling fan Kris actually thought there was a mic'd up ring. And I said, there are no speakers here, Kris.
Yeah, I did think that. Yeah, you were right.
Because every bump on this ring sounded like it went through a microphone and then came back out speakers. That's the reverberation of this hall. That was very
small
too. But very just small. The acoustics of this domed, somewhat like curved ceiling were just, they caused so much distortion. I don't know how anyone can sit there on a monthly basis. But the show itself was great. We had a freaking 5-star classic from Becca and Marcus Mathers that had no business being as good as it was.
Listen, I'm going to tell you this right now. Besides like WWE, and I've only been to one AEW show, I would say that Becca Mathers match was the best match I've ever seen live.
It's one of the best matches we've seen at indie shows.
Oh, absolutely.
In the past few years. And we've only been going to shows we've only been leaving the house post-COVID, people. So we started the Leaving the House tour. Now we're on the fucking scene.
I mean, it was. The best part, too, is the way that I don't know if it's true or not, but Marcus Mathers thought he just came out and didn't expect to be so hated. And he was hated, and he really adapted to it well. And Becca put on it was great. I enjoyed that match so much. Culture Inc. And I need to. What's their manager's name? Do you remember his name? But those guys were great. First time I've seen them. That was another great match. Just sitting here in an unair conditioned room, looking up. I know.
Pro Wrestling Grind cards. But yes, Culture Inc. A great team on my radar now, for sure. Actually, don't know. We were looking for the Grind card here. Okay, so this grind card had some very good matches on it. Like I said, one of the best matches we've ever seen live between the pop star Becca and Marcus Mathers. Like I said, had no business being as good as this match was. We also got a nice match from Andy Brown and Dan Barry.
Oh, yeah.
Rip Bison going to Japan, as he let us know. Before that, he took on Aaron Rourke, who's always awesome.
Another one of my favorites. Yeah, absolutely.
We had the main event Fatal 4-Way, which I don't know if I've ever seen a crowd so hyped for a match.
They were very, yes.
Travis Huckabee, Perry Von Vicious, Delmy Exo, and Mike Skyros, who I told you when I bought the tickets who was going to win. I told you, we're going to East Hampton to watch Mike Skyros win the Grind Championship, the Grind Grand Championship. And you were like, okay. So yeah,
who's that? Yeah.
The former champion, Jay Freddy. I'm pretty sure he was wearing a Miss Minutes hat. Was I the only one? Was I wrong about that from across the room? It looked like he was wearing a Miss Minutes hat.
I think he was,
Let me know, Jay Freddy. Were you wearing a Miss Minutes hat, please? And he was out there to present the belt to the new champ, Mike Skyros, who just snatched the belt. You can check out our Instagram for some clips at Watch Wrestling Podcast. I don't know if it's an at on Instagram. I'm used to Twitter. I'm now an old person who used to use Twitter. Like, Twitter is like the new MySpace now, where it's like, it's old because it doesn't exist anymore. Now it's called X.
Yeah, weird.
So it's like, if you talk about Twitter, you're like a boomer. So, but yes, overall, great show in East Hampton. Dare I say, we will be back with earplugs, though, and I don't give a shit how stupid I look in earplugs. We're talking jet engine levels of decibels in this room. It's not sustainable. Everybody in that room is going to get damage to their eardrums.
I would also like to say my man's name was Nick Holiday.
Nick Holiday is one of the best managers I've seen on the indies in a while. Obviously, there is the GOAT, Sidney Bacabella.
Yes.
But this dude surprised me. He was trying to start fights with people in the crowd. It was great. When the crowd wants to fight you and you tell them to get in the ring, you're onto something. That's great.
Oh, yeah. He didn't miss a beat. He went over. I actually knew a guy in the crowd who was yelling with him. I knew him from a long time ago, so I didn't say anything to him because whatever. But like, he was fighting with him, and then he was fighting with the guy in front of us because the guy in front of us was like, get in the ring, and then Nick Hollanday's like, you get in the ring, and that guy just shut up. It was amazing. He was so very good. Yes, it's on the Bacabala scale. He's like he's right up there.
And obviously, we had the main event in action, which is always a treat to get to watch. Blazing Jay Lyon and Midas Black.
Fantastic show. Great show overall too. Yeah. That was great.
I just wish I could have heard anything on the whole show. That was what I was saying to wrestling fan Kris the whole night. There was a band called Jobber that played, which I just couldn't hear them. I just don't know what they sounded like. The room was too deafening. It was deafening and distorted. Just couldn't hear what the ring announcer. Ethan Scott was in the building. Couldn't hear what he was saying. I saw him in the ring announcing stuff. Don't know what he was saying, but
I couldn't imagine how they were doing commentary over there on the table with that. Oh,
there was a loud distortion in the room. If I haven't made that point clear yet, but yes. So, like I said, dare I say, we will be back in East Hampton. Aside from going down that steep hill that destroyed the brakes on my car, wasn't a bad drive.
No, it was not. It was fine. Yeah,
wouldn't want to do it in the middle of winter. You know.
Going to Westfield in the middle of winter is one thing, but East Hampton, I don't know.
Driving up mountainous roads to watch wrestling, how do we always find ourselves in this position?
I don't know, man. If it's like, let's just say it's Becca and Aaron Rourke against Culture Inc. or the main event, we might have to still do it.
When the Even Stevens when we were in Westfield, and the Even Stevens took over the ring and said that they drove in a snowstorm to set up those chairs that you're sitting in, I felt for them because I also drove in that snowstorm.
Yes. That day, we were all the best in the world.
We were all Dante Drago that day. But yes, we will be back at a Grind Puro show, no doubt, for sure. Like I said, not in the middle of winter, guys. So you want to book your,
pause that, yeah.
Plan your cards accordingly here. I got this pen you can use if you need to reschedule some of those winter shows. But yeah, we'll probably also be back at some Blitzkrieg Pro shows as well coming up here pretty soon. On the fence about going to Holyoke, though. You know, it's like, should we just add towns that I'm not welcome in? That are all the surrounding towns I've lived near my whole life. I can't go to any of them.
Well, we might have to. We'll find out when we go there.
I hate them. I hate them. No. So, no, I didn't say anything bad about Holyoke.
No.
Yet.
This isn't Worcester here, Mike, okay?
Look, I might go back to Worcester.
I'll go back to Worcester.
We'll blend in.
I'll
wear a disguise. It'll be fine. But yes, that about does it for this episode of Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. Thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for staying to the end of the podcast, where all the money is at the end of the show here, I think, for sure. But yes, we will be back next week, most likely, to break down more All-In matches. We're on the road to All-In, and we're also on the road to Payback, obviously, the most important show on the calendar coming up. But yes, there is never not a lot to talk about in the world of wrestling, so we will be back. But until then, what does this button do?
Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. Help me.